Today, my colleagues and I are launching a new report, Tailored Coercion, Competition and Risk in Maritime Asia. We explain why and how China is resorting to coercion in the East and South China Seas. We call this tailored coercion because China is trying to use law enforcement vessels as much as military vessels. It's mixing its military and law enforcement maneuvers, moreover, along with propaganda, with diplomacy, with trade and investment throughout the region. In the East China Sea, China has intruded upon the Senkaku Islands, islands the Chinese claim as the Diaoyutai. There they're sending law enforcement vessels, naval vessels, and aircraft into and around the islands. Japan has been responding in a restrained fashion, but is at a loss to figure out a way to lower the temperature, especially when China refuses to engage Japan in discussions on a hotline. And when China is unhappy with something from Japan, it escalates. So last November, it unilaterally declared an air defense identification zone in order to express Chinese claims over the airspace around this region. In the South China Sea, there are 6 claimant states, and China is essentially creating a de facto administrative control over most of the region. It does so in the first instance by claiming a 9-dash line map covering more than 80% of the South China Sea. Unfortunately, that 9-dash line has very little status in international law, something that's being challenged right now by the Philippines at the International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea. Unfortunately, China may not abide by that ruling when it finally is issued, perhaps in 2016. It has certainly refused to participate in the tribunal thus far. In the meantime, China hasn't stopped from asserting itself. It's moved law enforcement vessels as well as naval vessels throughout the Spratly Islands, into Scarborough Reef, pushing aside the Philippines, intruding into Malaysian claimed waters. And the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the 10 Southeast Asian countries, are reluctant to embrace the claims of other claimant states, even though they're smaller Southeast Asian countries being challenged by China's tailored coercion. They're reluctant even to embrace the international legal case of the Philippines because they don't want to alienate a major trading partner in China. So China is exploiting this space to try to expand its influence over the near seas. And ultimately, it's trying to stake a claim of parity with the United States, pushing the United States out beyond what is called the First Island Chain, the countries bordering the East and South China Seas. The United States strategy for dealing with this also has a long-term military competition. There is a growing capability within the Chinese military to deny access to U.S. power projection forces. These so-called anti-access area denial capabilities are alarming many countries in the region who depend upon the United States to provide stability. If the United States will be denied access to this region, then they will surely be denied access, and China will dominate this region. These are the kinds of concerns that are vexing governments in the region, and yet there are no serious risk reduction measures in place. There's no architecture or set of institutions in place that can avoid this competition from growing or from incidents from escalating. So the United States strategy, working with allies and partners, reaching out to the Chinese, is aiming to try to create rules of the road, an inclusive rules-based system. But it's also trying to stand up to counter tailored coercion, and it's trying to find a way to reassure the region that the United States will indeed be a permanent Pacific power and able to overcome anti-access and area denial capabilities that are growing in China. In many ways, the strategy is a mirror of U.S. rebalancing policy to Asia. It has a diplomatic, economic, and a military dimension. It's comprehensive. Diplomatically, the United States is reaching out to increasing numbers of partners while building institutions on existing alliances. The U.S.-Japan alliance has been a foundation for stability for decades, and it will continue to grow, especially as Japan now plays a bigger role in the region. And indeed, the United States will expect allies and partners to take up and shoulder more responsibilities for preserving stability, especially around their airspace, and their sea space. Economically, the United States has to strengthen its commercial ties with the region. Following through on the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement with 11 other nations is the beginning of an inclusive, strong trading relationship with 40% of the global economy, and that can expand over time. But militarily, the United States must remain present and engaged with a strong military, not one that escalates, but one that reassures the region that the United States will be there to ensure that commonly agreed rules are enforced. These are big issues. They're issues that are addressed in our report, Tailored Coercion. I hope you'll read the entire report at cnas.org, and I hope you'll join the discussion at #MaritimeAsia. Thank you.